raise my vibration, I want to feel better, I'm going to at least turn it into an experience for me and not going and making everyone else feel uncomfortable, because you can see that people press too hard. Be conscious of that too, but also you can change your reality.
Yep. And I say that's because it's the same with anything. Like, not everyone's going to resonate with you. No. So when you're in that gym environment, not everyone's going to want to talk to you. No. In life, not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. Just let them crack on. That's the thing. You don't then judge the people that sat there grumbling and not want to say hi, because first of all, you don't know what they're going through, and second of all, they may not like you. Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to an episode of the Prime Life Project podcast. I'm your host, Daniel James, and I'm joined once again, after a long absence, by Mr. Mikey Markham.
It's not been too long, has it?
About
a month. Yeah, 4 episodes or so.
Well, so yeah, how are we?
I'm back. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm right, thank you very much.
I saw you on the weekend.
You did, yeah. So again, by the time we're recording this, depending when it goes out, you'll heard in the last Q&A that I did that Cage's hockey team played the last game of the season and they ended up winning 5-0. It was a must-win game and they scored all 5 goals in the second half. And Mr. Mikey Markham was there watching. So
I can see why you're into this hockey business, mate. It's brutal.
Yeah, well, I didn't understand the rules when I was first. And I didn't have a clue, and that's what people couldn't understand. Like, how are you going and coaching in hockey? It's like,
yeah, I
just understand football, and basically hockey is football with sticks. Slightly different rules, but formation-wise, that's all it is. Like formations, it's the exact same formation, meaning like if you do certain things, and
also man management as well.
It's the exact same thing. And for me, as a goalkeeper, that's what I always used to do. I used to organise. So I used to organise the players in front of me, understanding the formation and tactics and stuff. So basically, it's the exact same. Like I'm not going to do anything. I'm not there to teach them, tell them to be better hockey players. I can't do that. I'm basically helping them understand a system. So it's like when I do my coaching. Like, again, I'm not working to help people become better recruiters or singers. Or anything. I can't do that. I'm just helping them be a better version of themselves by working within a system. So the system works for them, if that makes sense.
Do you think, we're going to get onto these questions, but do you think a good manager needs to have played some high-level sport before, or can they just build system?
I think they can build a system, but I think it helps. So I think I can't remember some managers, but there is some good football managers, for example, that have never played football. Yeah. But I feel like if you understand the game at such a level, you can do it. Now, I don't understand hockey, but I understand sport. I've played multiple sports, and because I've played football at such a high level, more than most people, I understand the importance of systems and just understanding formations. And for me, it's not even systems or formations, it's understanding your role. Because most of the time, people don't understand their role within the team. So once you explain the role within the team, they get clarity, so they can then go out and perform that. So again, like with my clients, you just give them clarity. That what do you want to do? They say, oh, right, here you go. You now got clarity. You now know what you're doing. And once you know what you're doing, you can go and then perform. But when it comes to the hockey players, the thing I noticed, most of them didn't know what they were doing. Mm-hmm. They were playing a formation. They didn't understand the roles and what they're meant to do. And that's the thing for me, that I was always taught in football is like, you need to know your position. You need to know your role. Like, what is your role within this team and this team dynamic, and more importantly, what's expected of you. So when people know what's expected of me, for example, if you're a winger, what's expected is you basically run that. Again, this is a football analogy. You just run for 90 minutes. Like for attacking, you are attacking. If you're defending, you're defending. Yeah. Like that's what's expected. And again, it doesn't mean that you're going to always be amazing and whipping these amazing balls or score, but your role is, if we're attacking, you're supporting. If we're defending, you're supporting the defenders. Like you're the go-between. So that person knows, right, that's my role. Or if it's more of a defensive winger, right, your role, no matter what's going on, you're just sitting back a bit and you're just holding up play and you're the outlet for the defence. So then that winger now knows, that's what's expected of me.
You talk a lot about this in life, don't you? In just terms of turn up, know what your intention is for that day, and play that to the best of your ability.
And that's it, because that's me as a goalkeeper. Like, yes, I had to save, but then when I had new managers come in, this is what was expected of you. Like, you have to get yourself into a position, so if your defender's got the ball, you can receive it, and either clear it up the pitch, or switch the play. Cool. So I then knew, when my team's got the ball, I'm not just a passive standing in the goal, I've got to move, get into position, so I can receive the ball if needed. Yeah. So I guess it's a different dynamic, but I knew that's what's expected of me. So then if I don't do that, and I'm getting told off, okay, well, I didn't do what was expected of me. Yeah. Rather than, I don't understand why you're shouting at me. I don't understand, like, what? So it's just understanding that once you've got these parameters and you know what to work within, cool. That doesn't mean you're going to get it right all the time, but you know this is what's expected of me. You then go up and do that yourself. And it's also doing that with yourself in your life. What are you expecting of you? There's the question of, what do you expect from yourself? What's your intention? What do you expect? Because then when you don't live up to that, you can call yourself out on it.
Yeah.
but it's a positive, constructive thing rather than a self-hatred, loathing, I'm a useless, whatever it is you call yourself. It's like, no, I said I was going to do this and I haven't. Well, why haven't I done that? That's it. You check yourself.
Oh, mate, that's a good start to a podcast. And that's a
very
new metaphor.
There you go.
I've not heard of that.
Start. There you go.
Let's get into these questions and see what metaphors we can come up with. Right, so question 1. What strategies do you use to overcome mum/dad guilt or the pressure to do it all?
Well, so again, that's a good question, but obviously I'm not a parent, so I'm speaking as a step parent here. So again, you might be able to answer a bit more to this, but for me, the pressure of being a parent trying to do it all, you can't do everything. You can't do everything, and you can't be everything to everyone. So for me, it's just realizing that, especially if you're co-parenting, cool, like delegate if you need to. So again, if you're a single parent but you're co-parenting, okay, can you delegate some stuff, or are you just trying to do everything yourself? If that's not an option and you're a single parent, okay, well, do you have parents, friends that can help? Okay, yes or no. But if you actually are with a partner, same thing. Can you just use a bit of communication? Can you, again, we spoke about there, like what's expected of me? So people know. So again, with me and Katie within our sort of role, and people expect to do everything. Like Katie understands what her role is, and I understand what my role is. And again, it's that time sort of management. So for example, earlier on today, Kate was super busy. I took Theo to school. Cool, not an issue. I know my roles. I know what's expected of me. Taking the bins out, for example, I'm very well aware of that. And then Katie also understands her role with certain stuff. So for me, it's just having that time. If you're trying to do everything yourself, you can't. So it's having that conversation with your partner, with the person you're co-parenting with your friends, family, and just ask for that support, because you can't do everything yourself. And for me, if you're trying to be, for me, it's that jack of all trades, master of none. Mm-hmm. So within the dynamic of being a parent, what is it that you struggle with? Delegate it if you can. What is it you're good at? And then lean into that. Because that's the thing for me, like, a lot of time, like, we don't lean into our strengths. So just play to your strengths. Like, for example, like if Katie turned around to me and said, I've got to start doing all the cooking. Like, can I cook? Absolutely. But it's not a strength of mine. So that I mean, it's pointless. So then it's just playing to your strengths in that, but then it's communicating. What's your thoughts on this? Because obviously I'm not an actual parent, so I'd be interested to know your thoughts.
Just know yourself, which is always something we talk about. So very deep self-awareness, and then bring your biggest, most honest voice forward. Because I think in my situation, we've got our roles, but then also if it's not quite fitting still, you need to be able to go, actually, do you think I can get a bit more support and help here? Because bless Chrissy, my wonderful partner, she can sometimes try and take all on and feel like I should be able to do this, though I should be. So she'll keep batting her head against a wall and not putting that honest voice forward and saying, actually, this isn't quite the way I want it. This isn't working. Can we realign it? Can we recalibrate it? And we'd be able to do that. But I can't work off of no knowledge. I can't work off of not having that conversation.
Yeah, communication is a massive one, but it's also, because again, I get this with certain persons in the room that shan't be named. But then for me, it's then as a partner, is then realising when there's that overwhelming stress and maybe just taking some stuff off. So sometimes I can see Kate stressed and I'll just take Theo to school. Or she's stressed or something and I'll just go and play with Theo. So it just takes, so without being asked, I think sometimes it's using that initiative to be like, I can see my partner struggling, whether it's the male, female, whatever dynamic it is. For example, if Katie knows I'm stressed, she will then make sure that Theo doesn't then disturb me. So it's little things like that, just a minor example. But with sort of that, it's then, rather than necessarily waiting to be told stuff, sometimes if you know, it's like, well, what can I do to then show up and exactly read the situation? And then when it's all calmed down, be like, Joe, next time, just ask. Just tell me that you need that. Like, look how much easier it was. I stepped up and did this. You didn't tell me to do it, but look how much easier your life has become because I've done that. Yeah. Next time, I'll happily do this. But just don't force me to do it. Just ask me and I'll happily do it. Yeah. I don't want to step on toes. I don't know what you need. Just tell me, just communicate what do you need. How can I help? And I'll then do it. And if I can't do it, I'll tell you I can't do it. But I will always be there. I've just proven that. Like, I took him to school. Like, I did this, I did that. Like, oh yeah, that did really help. Well, there we go. Like, I'll do more of it if you tell me. Just let me know. Delegate. You don't have to go all for alone. And that's the thing. But again, if you are a single parent, it can be a bit harder. And that's then when it's leaning on some friends. Again, support networks. Again, even if it's other kids at school. Like if they can maybe have your child for dinner one day and it just buys you back a few extra hours. Again, don't be afraid of asking. It doesn't show weakness, because then what can happen is that parent, that then opens the bridge for them to ask you to do it one day as well. So it just gives you a bit more free time.
It's an interesting word, isn't it? Guilt, to do it all, the guilt. Because Why do we feel that sense of, I've got kids, I've given myself this responsibility, I should be on top of it and shouldn't be reaching out and asking other people?
Yeah, guilt, again, for me, guilt implies you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
And you haven't, and that's the thing for me. It's like, and this is what I've learned from, again, being a step parent and working with so many parents, is that every single parent thinks they're doing a bad job.
Yeah.
And no one talks about it.
Bang on.
So every parent thinks they're the only one that thinks they're bad at parenting, when no one knows. It's like being a human being. No one knows how to be human. We're all winging it. No matter how successful you are, even if the most successful people on the planet, they'll tell you just kind of winging it, because no one knows. There is no book. People say the Bible, but there's no book on like, this is how you do life. That's not how it works. The same with parenting. There's no way to do parenting. For me, it's just realizing the guilt implies you're doing something wrong. You're not. And it's like, yes, you want to show up as the best version of yourself for your child, but it's realizing that if you are, again, jack of all trades, master of none, you're not actually serving anybody. You're making yourself tired. You're wearing yourself out. You're not showing up as the best version of yourself for your child. Exactly. And that's exactly it. So again, the guilt of you doing that, actually just look back at your childhood and ask, why do you feel guilty for doing all this? Is it because your mum did all that? Okay, well, that's the pattern you learned from your parents. And again, we're assuming this is a woman here, because again, it could be a male as well. So again, the man could be the provider. Yeah. The whole thing is the man's got to be stoic and be a provider, because that's what the dad did. The dad was never there because he was always working. Okay, well, how did that work out for you? What's the relationship like with you and your dad? It's like, oh, actually not very good. Okay, would you want that for you and your child? Oh, no, wait, no, I don't. So it's then realising that guilt of doing everything, if it's the dad that thinks he's got to go and provide, or the mum that thinks she's got to take care of all the homely stuff, it's like, okay, well, where have you learnt that? Normally from your parents. And then be like, well, do I want to be my parents? And the answer may be yes. Okay, great. But guilt implies you're doing something wrong. And for me, that implies that actually deep down, you know it's not serving you.
Just don't do anything unconsciously and check your blind spot.
Yeah, it's just like, are you choosing to do this? Would you choose to be doing what you're doing now? Yeah. And if the answer is yes, crack on. But if the answer is no, if I say to you, would you choose to be playing the roles you're playing now? And the answer is no, then who's choosing? Mm-hmm. Not you. Yeah. It's your subconscious programming. And again, it's asking where's that come from. And most of the time, it's from observing your parents and role models. So again, when it comes to relationships, most of our relationships, like when it comes to romantic relationships, the parental relationship, friendships, are molded from childhood. So again, arguments. Like if your default setting in an argument is to just scream the house down and start throwing things, okay, well, that's a learnt behaviour, because not every human being has that. So that's learnt. Okay, where have you learnt that? Maybe it's your dad that did that, or maybe it's your mum that did that, whatever it is. So again, prime example. Let's use a prime example. Come back to the hockey analogy. So you didn't see this at the end. We've not actually spoke about this. So at the end of the hockey game, their manager came up to me, their coach came up to me, and their goalkeeper was quite aggressive. So she came running out the goal, took out the player a few times during the game, the same player a few times throughout the game. And you saw it, go nuts. Okay, so at the end of the game, their coach came up to me and said, I'd like to give you a bit of feedback. I said, okay. He said, your player got in the goalkeeper's face and called her an effing bitch. I was like, okay. And she went, she's only 13 years old, or 14. I was like, okay. And he said, and that's my daughter. So I'm more heightened about this whole thing. So he's clearly very angry and annoyed about the situation. So I then turned around to him and said, like, with all due respect, you're making a girl playing in a women's sport. So it's like, you kind of got to expect certain things to happen. Like she got on. I then said, okay, I will have a word with that player. But can I give you some feedback? So I put my hand on his chest. Like, do you know what I mean? Just a very open palm, just like a friendly, like building that rapport, hand on his chest. Or shoulder, on his shoulder, and said, some of the challenges that she made were very dangerous. And I said, if you can take your emotions out of it and look at it as if I keep it up on your players, they weren't good tackles. The mum then comes in screaming, get your fucking hands off my husband. Get your fucking hands off my... Going nuts, psychopathic nuts. I turned around and was like, excuse me, we're having a really good conversation. I don't care, get your fucking hands off my... This is in front of her daughter. So bearing in mind, her daughter throughout the game was going nuts, like psychopathic nuts in the goal. And I'm thinking, and again, afterwards, this is what I'm saying. The reason why I'm saying the story is because that's what this daughter is seeing on how you handle conflict. Because me and the dad were having a really in-depth, man-to-man. He'd said, this is my problem. I listened. I said, yeah, absolutely. I'll go and deal with that. Can I just give you some feedback? We're having a real in-depth conversation. Just because I had my hand on him and gives an open palm, it was not aggressive. And he basically apologised. I'm really sorry about that. And I just shook his hand and then walked off. I thought, what are you teaching your daughter? Wow. Because you don't even know the context of this conversation. Because he'd handled it very well, like a man. He had a problem. He came up to me. And again, I listened to him. I said, I agree. I'll go and deal with that. But here's my feedback for you. And we didn't get to close that. I didn't get to finish my point because she came in. But my point in saying that is that daughter is learning that's how you deal with conflict. Wow. You just go psychopathic and nuts, complete with no context. You just explode. She don't come in and say, "Excuse me, what are you talking about?" Literally psychopathic, going nuts, swearing at me. And I thought to myself, like, if I was a different kind of person, I'd be feeling. It could escalate very, very quickly. Yeah. Because again, Katie, my girlfriend, imagine if she's then psychopathic.
Yeah.
So then what you've got is before you know it, there's a mass brawl. There's a mass brawl over what? A really calm conversation was handled by two men having a discussion as men. Yeah. So again, my point, the only reason I'm saying that is that daughter is learning that behaviour off the mum, because throughout the game, loads of our players, we didn't realise how old she was, were saying how psycho that goalkeeper was, the word psycho. And then you see the mum and you're thinking, okay. So learnt behaviours. So again, kind of long thing there, but yeah, that kind of answers the question.
Well, you've actually blown my mind.
Yeah, and we haven't spoken about it. You'd left at this point. It happened right at the end of the game. At the end of the game, when we saw shaking hands and stuff, you'd already shot off. That all happened.
Interesting.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next question, shall we?
Think about your learnt behaviours.
Exactly,
next question. That really was a good question. Okay. If you're busy, how do you find time for personal growth and learning new skills?
Everyone's always busy. And the phrase I think I used last time we did a Q&A was busy being busy. Everyone is always busy being busy. So you have to ask yourself, if you're busy being busy and you're not happy with how your life is and where you're at, something has to change. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. So you have to find time. There's that amazing quote, you've probably seen it all over Instagram, where it says, if you can't find time to meditate for 10 minutes a day, you need to meditate for an hour. Yeah. So that's basically what it is. Like, if you can't find time to work on yourself if you're struggling, then that says it all. That's why you're struggling. So you need to spend more time on figuring it out. Because most of the time we're busy being busy, doing stuff that, like back to the first point, doing stuff that we don't really need to be doing. We could be delegating, and we're just busy being busy because we don't actually want to sit with ourselves. Because sitting with yourself is the hardest thing you could ever do. So most people will avoid it. So for me, the reason why people don't spend time doing it or can't find time, they'll say, I can't find time, is because they don't want to find time. They don't want to find time because they don't want to actually sit with themselves. And they don't want to sit with themselves because it's a scary place. Because when you're sitting with yourself, you're inside your own head most of the time, asking yourself questions and thinking. And if your mind is like a bad neighbourhood, you don't want to spend a lot of time hanging out in there. But the only reason why it's a bad neighbourhood is because you've left it derelict for so long. So you need to go in there and start clearing house. So for me, there's always time, always, always, always. If you look at the amount of time you spend on your phone, so anyone can do it. I guarantee you most people spend at least 3 hours on their phone a day. That's 3 hours you can spend doing stuff on yourself. Again, Netflix in the evening, same thing. And again, I'm not against people. I'm bashing it. I'm not bashing Netflix. I'm not bashing these things. Like, I watch TV shows, but I do my work first, and sometimes I don't. And that's when you get a little feeling of guilt when I'm like, I should be actually working right now. But most people just ignore that. So for me, it's then asking yourself, where are you placing your time? Yeah. Where are you placing your energy? Where are you placing your attention? And if you are struggling mentally, physically, whatever it is, again, because personal development here could be even like going to the gym, like people feeling really unfit and unhealthy, so they can't find time to go to the gym. Okay, we can find time to walk. Oh, but I can't because my kids are in, because I've got kids. Okay, when they go to bed. Oh, but I can't leave them by themselves. Okay, we'll get a treadmill, like a £100. You can get one of those treadmills where it's not even a treadmill, it's like a walking platform thing. Oh, I can't afford £100. Okay. Do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you X, Y, and Z? I guarantee you that if you didn't go out and have a Costa coffee every day, you could find £100 somewhere. So again, what is your priority? And for me, a lot of people like to moan. So if you take away the thing exactly. So if you take away the stuff they're moaning about, they've got nothing to moan about. Oh, I'm anxious, I'm depressed. If you remove the anxiety and you remove the depression, what else have they got to talk about? Because it becomes part of their identity. Oh, I'm really overweight. Oh, I hate my body. Okay, you get them in shape, they've got nothing to moan about. You're taking away part of their identity.
That's scary for people.
Scary. So for me, it's just, do you really want it? And if you do, you'll find a way. It goes back to and again, this is where we spoke off air about the podcast I did with you. If you really want to do something, you'll find a way. So I use the example, and I don't think I've shared this on my podcast, but I did on your podcast, that if you were at a theatre production, for example, or someone talking in an auditorium, and you got a phone call, and it was from the person you love the most, whether it's your daughter, whether it's your wife, whatever it is, the person you love the most, and they said, I'm in hospital, you've got to get here, I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. Would you feel bad about getting up and leaving? No. You wouldn't care what anyone else in that room thought. You would not care. You would find a way to get out. And then if someone said, oh, no, so you can't leave, Would you accept that as an answer? No, you'd find a way. And if you got there to your car and you had flat tyres, oh, okay, no. You'd run there, you'd get a taxi, you would find a way. You would not take no as an answer because you want it that badly. You won't let anything get in the way. My then thing with this is, do you want the stuff that you want when it comes to personal development? Do you actually want to develop personally? Do you actually want to work on yourself? Or do you just like the idea of it? Because if you actually wanted to do it, you wouldn't make excuses. You would find a way. And if, again, it's asking yourself, if you really don't want to do it, why? Because if you know you need it and then you're not doing it, why? That's telling you something. That tells you that you need to be doing it. Because for me, when there's that resistance there, that resistance is there for a reason, and you've actually got to lean into it. Whereas a lot of people, they don't lean into it, they get that resistance, and then they stop and go back to their comfort zone, and nothing then changes.
Yeah, mate, I love everything you've said there. So it's semi-different, aren't they? Personal growth and learning new skills are in different camps a little bit, because personal growth, you should always have time for that. That really is a development of the journey. No matter what you're doing, if it is being busy, you've got to have that time to, how do I learn to check in with myself? How do I learn to be more present and be in the moment? That is just a full-on part of the journey. There's always time for that. The learning new skills part, something Katie said on the last episode that I liked, finding, like you said, good substitutes in your day and also innovative ways of introducing that. For me, I was a bit nervous about doing a film shoot recently, because I'd not really done that sort of job for a long time. And I thought, AI's got really good now, and sort of all videos, you look at TikTok and it's very similar and so on. And I didn't want to go and do a non-job or a base job. So I took a few dog walks, 2 hours, and all the way on the dog walk, I had YouTube on looking at tutorials of different transitions and I was buzzing. Like, I had the best feeling inside. And I did dog walks all the time, but I'd be listening to a podcast or just being present on the walk. But then introducing that, learning a new skill, it revitalized me again. And then I put it into the job, and I wasn't nervous anymore because I was actually actively learning, and it was really good. So Katie said, finding times where you can incorporate that learning when you think you're too busy.
Because there's always times. Like I say, just prioritizing. And again, it's also having the awareness of you can do that. Yeah. And again, people, I'm just so busy. Yeah, I get that. But a lot of the time you're just inside your own head as well. And if you just take some time just to do other things, like I said, just that active learning that new skills, that new development, it all kind of ties in. So no, I absolutely love that.
It works. Wicked, man. What are the top 3 habits you recommend for maintaining a positive mindset?
Ooh. Again, this is just my personal opinion. I think everyone's different. So it's finding your own one for the positive mindset. And it's, first of all, removing stuff. For the habit is removing things that affect your mindset. So if you're constantly hanging around with friends, doing activities and stuff that doesn't serve you and it really bothers you, like, for example, social media. Let's say every time you go on social media, you're comparing yourself and you feel negative and horrible. The first habit that I recommend is just get off social media, or limit your social media time and what you're doing, or just be intentional when you're going on there and why you're going on there. Okay, because sometimes I go on YouTube, love YouTube. However, sometimes I can get caught down a rabbit hole of YouTube when I've gone there to do one thing, I'm down a rabbit hole for another. So just be super intentional. That's like getting rid of the negative. When it comes to positives, for me personally, reading is a big one for me. One of my habits is reading. Because I notice that when my mindset gets more negative, when I feel stagnant and feel like I'm not growing, not learning, not developing. So for me, reading every day is a non-negotiable. So that's a habit I definitely recommend. Another one is just getting outside, because for me, we can get stuck in the same 4 walls. So for example, tonight I'm meeting a friend, and Kate said, why don't you bring her here? I'm here all the time. So for me, it's just getting out of that same environment. I love this office. I love this house. It's amazing. But sometimes I just want to change the scenery. So again, if you're just stuck in the same 4 walls with your kids all the time and you don't leave the house, just get out. If you just go for a 5-10 minute walk, just get out. The more you can walk, the better. So again, if you've got like a Apple Watch or something, if you're not even getting 5,000 steps in a day, that you're going to feel rubbish. So for me, a positive body and positive mind goes hand in hand. So I'll just be getting some fresh air, like just enjoying that time to yourself. As you mentioned on the previous question, listen to a podcast there as well. So if you don't like reading, that's a great time to listen to an audiobook, listen to a podcast, so you learn and develop him. That kills 2 birds with 1 stone. And then the third one is just spending time with people that fill your cup up. Just spend time with people that you know are good for your soul, whatever that looks like. It could be your kids. Spend more time with your kids, because there's a lot of parents that I speak to and they've got young kids. I'm like, you do realize at some point they're going to be 18 and they're not going to want to hang around with you. You're not going to be that cool anymore. So actually enjoy that right now. Like, spend time with your kids when they're playing. Like, just do stuff. Like every Sunday now we do this Pokemon drawing thing. I've never seen it on my Instagram. If you haven't, the Promenade Project on Instagram, and you get to see me drawing Pokemon every Sunday. But something like that is just really cool. Because I realised that Theo's not going to want to do that with me forever. And again, he loves me watching me play Pokemon at the minute. But the only reason I played Pokemon was to help him because he can't read. So he just clicks through. Doing Pokemon, where you click through and it tells you what to do. When you speak to people, it tells you what to do. So he'd come to me and be like, what do I have to do? I'm like, how the hell do I know? So like that movie Catch Me If You Can, Leonardo DiCaprio, I've had to be 2 steps ahead of him. So when he comes to me, I know what to do. I don't have to rely on the characters telling me what to do because I've already done it. But all that stuff, he's not going to want to do that forever. So for me, it's like, again, it could be anything though. Whatever just fills your cup up, the people in your life. Can you spend more time with, again, if it's another couple, if you're in a relationship that really fills your cup up, can you spend more time with them? Or if it's that one friend that, whatever it is, can you just do more stuff? So for me, it's some sort of learning and developing, reading, whatever that is for yourself. Get some fresh air and spend time with people that fill your cup up. And then the fourth one is the thing I mentioned at the start as the bonus. Remove the negative stuff. Whether it is the people, try and as much as you can limit interaction with them if you can. Or social media. Seven my habits for that positive mindset. And again, it is a skill, but it's like a garden. Just because you've cleared the weeds out once doesn't mean they're going to stop growing. And we can use a really expensive spray. Yes, you can. And that is really like, that's the personal development where you kind of like just grenade your whole life. Do you know what I mean? Like start from scratch. But most people can't do that. So it's time to pick up the weeds. So once you've tamed the garden once.
And they're probably not as severe, but they're going to come back in some way.
You tame the garden once, but then it's like deodorant. You don't spray deodorant once in the morning. You're still going to stink if you don't do it the next day.
I had a shower
brushing
last
your
week.
teeth. Do you know what I mean? Katie. So for me, it's just looking at it and being like, just because you do it once, cool, you've got to keep on doing it. And I used that analogy ages ago. I've not used it for a while, which is quite from the deodorant one. Like you've got to put it on every day. So every day you just got to tend to your garden and be like, are there any weeds that are coming, going? And that's again the whole journey of that awareness. Like you've got to be aware of where you're at right now.
I say I'll just give one, and I think it's something you talk about all the time, but the frequency thing. Like what you give, you often get back, and simply smiling at somebody, doing something good for somebody, going out your way to say something nice to somebody, not that you're just doing it to get it back, but when you fill everyone else's life with that, eventually it does start to reciprocate. I mean, example for me is I went to a new gym. I like change of scenery. I'm that kind of guy. And that's a good thing. That'll be number 2 of mine by accident. But it was genuinely a weird vibe. It was sort of just negativity. You go to say hello to somebody or anything, and it felt, everyone is just here to train, which I get, and I'll give respect to that. But I was being met with very low energy, miserable faces. And I didn't go crazy like, hey, everybody, look, I'm here today. But I was just mindful and looking around at people that did seem to reciprocate a smile or did seem to reciprocate a bit of a hand gesture. And then I'll go and sort of just say, how you doing? Are you all right? And made some great connections already from that, and follow each other on Instagram and going to do training together. It's just nice. And that's what I wanted in my life. And I had that intention. I knew what I was out there for, but it was through a smile. It was through a bit of a positive word and just putting something out there good.
So I did the Zen gym. Gym's a great place to meet people, and so again, because you can tell the people that are on their level and not on their level, because it's like a melting pot of people. And there's a guy next to me, so I'm in the powerlifting section, I do all powerlifting, and the guy was squatting, and I basically asked him for a spot, and he said something to me afterwards, I can't remember what it was, but then I kind of mentioned, we've been doing this long, this powerlifting thing long, and he basically said he'd taken a break because of his mental health, and then I then had to do my next set. But I realised that I'd left him hanging after he'd kind of mentioned about his mental health. So I then did my set, and I had to go up to him and was like, just so you know, like, I didn't stop talking to you because you mentioned about your mental health. Like, I had to go and like do my set. And they said, no, I didn't think that. But I said, people get funny. And they were literally then talking for an hour or so. And it turns out he's a professional poker player. So I say professional, not where he's like on TV or anything. But I asked him, because he said about poker, and I said, well, are you professional? And he went, it's my main source of income, and I live quite a good lifestyle. So if that makes me a professional, then it is. And I went, well, technically it is your profession, so you are a professional. I was just really interested that it massively affected his mental health. So we've just got to talk about that. And to your point there, it's just actually having those connections with people and just being open and honest. It was just really, really nice, because I knew nothing about this guy before. And again, wouldn't necessarily be the kind of guy that I'd go and interact with, but I needed a spot. I needed help with this lift. And then just having that really open, honest conversation. And then me just touching on the fact he mentioned about his mental health. I was like, actually, we can have a conversation here. And then just went from there.
And I'll just reiterate, like past me and less conscious me would have just accepted that's the gym atmosphere, I can't do anything about it, and just stayed in that tepid water. But me being me now, no, I want to raise my vibration, I want to feel better, I'm going to at least turn it into an experience for me and not going and making everyone else feel uncomfortable, because you can see that people press too hard. Be conscious of that too, but also you can change your reality.
Yep. And I say that's because it's the same with anything. Like, not everyone's going to resonate with you. No. So when you're in that gym environment, not everyone's going to want to talk to you. No. In life, not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. Yeah. Just let them crack on. That's the thing. You don't then judge the people that sat there grumbling and not want to say hi, because first of all, you don't know what they're going through, and second of all, they may just not like you. Cool. It's not your business. You just crack on and find the people that do reach out, do want to connect with you, and that's it. Let them do their thing. You focus on you and what you want to do. Intentional.
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
There you go. And again, that quote I've got on my board there that I've mentioned a few times, fill yourself with it and become a magnet. That's the biggest thing, yeah. There you
go. Okay. I'm guessing this has been sent in by someone we both know. Are you the real life Ted Lasso?
Yes.
I have to be educated on this.
Yeah, it goes back to the hockey question. Yes, real life Ted Lasso. And that was an interesting conversation. Again, I talked about stepping out of comfort zones and stuff. Someone's on the radio talking about this. They couldn't believe that I literally just went in and kind of like started coaching the hockey team. So the way that it sort of happened is that, I think I've mentioned a little bit before, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to bore people, but played football at a high level. Hockey is essentially football with sticks. Now, when I say that, there's loads of different rules. I get that. But formation-wise and tactic-wise and positional play, very, very similar. And when I was watching Katie play hockey, I noticed that the other team was basically just running through the middle because there's a massive gap because of the formation they're playing. So I said to Katie, listen, I can see what's going on here. Can I say something? And then Katie said, speak to the captain. So I spoke to the captain. He said, yeah. So basically, because they didn't have a coach at the time. So basically, they're making their own substitutions. So imagine the carnage of that, because it's roll on, roll off. Yeah. So at any point, you can roll on, roll off. So the girls were just subbing themselves whenever they wanted, with whoever they wanted, and it was kind of like a bit of a free-for-all. And there was no positional play. No one was taking charge. So at half-time, I basically said, listen, this is what's happening. This is what you need to do to correct it. And whoever's playing in this position, do that. And then they said, we'd make the subs as well. So I thought, okay. So I then just basically took charge. And then they ended up winning that game, or drawing, or whatever it was. But it was kind of a good turnaround. And then they said, we do this every week. So I was like, okay. Yeah, and then that was the thing. And then each week is just, again, stepping out of my comfort zone because I didn't know anything about hockey. So I had to learn about hockey. So when you were there at the weekend, you were like, what's this, what's that? I had no idea. So then I didn't really feel comfortable voicing my opinion on certain things. But then as the season's got on and I've educated myself and I got more comfortable, I then basically leaned into my strengths, which was when people were coming on, I said to them, this is what I expect from you. This is what you've got to do. Before the game, I said to the defensive line, this is what I expect from you. Attackers, this is what I expect from you. And then at half time, again, constructive feedback. Like being really positive, like they call it the shit sandwich, with the positive, the negative, then the positive. And again, she's encouraging players. So again, some of the girls were quite young, like a 14-year-old girl. And in one of the games, she was really getting inside of her own head and she was getting frustrated. So I basically had a word with her and did what I do with my mindset coaching. It's the same thing. Yeah. So just doing it on a bit of a mass scale, not exactly without knowing anything about hockey. Because they know how to play hockey at a good level.
Also, there's some people listening to this now that don't know, like me, who Ted Lasso was.
Yeah, so Ted Lasso is basically, I've never watched it, but I understand the premise of it is basically someone from America who has got no business being a football coach, comes over to the UK and then ends up being a manager of a football club. So he's got no business being that or doing that. He knows nothing about football, but I think he's just like a normal coach. Kind of like with me, like a football coach going to hockey and he was like another coach or something like that. Is that correct? Yeah,
but and is his thing is just very inspiring, so the players listen to him and they feel.
Actually, I don't know. Okay, what do people listen to him?
I don't know. He's asking his first of memory.
Let's go around.
But you are him without you knowing.
That's me. So again, massively stepping out of the comfort zone. And again, the guys at Circle Men's couldn't believe that I just went and did that. And I went, okay, well, again, it's just stepping out of your comfort zone. Like I didn't feel comfortable doing it, but I knew that I could help. Yeah. So the worst thing I can do. So the worst thing that was going to happen was the captain said no. Yeah. Okay, cool. You don't want my help, that's fine. I'm not going to force it, but I've got something that can help, and then go from there. Yeah, and that's a life lesson with, again, people in your life. If you've got something that can help, offer it out there. If they don't want it, that's okay.
Yeah, mate. Right, another question.
Final question,
yeah, ready? What advice would you give to someone just starting their self-improvement journey? It's a good question.
It's a very, very good question, and something I wish I'd asked when I started. So there's a few things I'll say is that when you first start out, we've had this conversation before, when you first start on this journey, you start reading some books and learning some stuff, the amount of information and knowledge you'll gain will be rapid. very, very quickly, very early on, beginner gains, as it were. And you're going to think you know everything. Yeah. And you're going to basically try and tell everyone everything that you know and basically force it down their throats. Don't do that. As much as you want to, understand that people are on their own journey and they don't care about what you know. If you want to impact the people around you, lead by example, and those that resonate, frequency, will follow. But the worst thing you can do is just go around preaching to people on your little soapbox and say, oh, I know this, you should be doing that, blah, 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 because it's ridiculous and basically makes yourself like a bit of an idiot. So the first bit of advice is you're going to know loads of stuff quite early on, and you're going to think you know everything. Keep that to yourself, implement it, and realise that the next thing that's going to happen is that you realise you know nothing. And that can be quite a powerful drop for people and make people feel quite demoralised. But for me, the more you know, the less you know. And you'll see that in real time when it comes to that self-development stuff. And for me, it's just realising that you can't have the highs without the lows. And that just because you have bad days, which you will do, just because you go back to old habits, old patterns, old behaviours, that doesn't mean you failed. Just see that as an opportunity to learn, grow and develop and move forward. So the journey is long. It's a never-ending journey and it's an infinite game. So people try to play a finite game with an infinite game. It's infinite. The game never ends. So stop trying to put ends to it, because that's not how this game works. Like the whole journey, my whole belief is that we are born and we live to learn, develop and grow as human beings. And then we pass on what we learn and grow to the next generation. And it's basically like a perpetuating cycle. So stop putting this thing on, oh, I'll get there. I'll get to this place, because you're never going to get there, because as you evolve, you will have to evolve. You'll have to learn more. You'll have to grow. And the people around you will force you to grow, learn, develop, especially if you've got kids, parents, all that sort of stuff, because you don't know what's around the next corner. And life will always throw us curveballs to try and test us. And for me, life happens for us, not to us. But in order for it to happen for us, it does first have to happen to us. So realise that when you're on your journey, if you think you've got everything sorted, that life's going to happen to you. Something will happen. It's inevitable. That's happened for you for the next level of your journey if you let it work for you. So you've got to let life work on you so that it can work for you. So just realise it's a long game. It never ends. The more you know, the more you realise that you don't know, and that's okay. Stay humble and always seek people that have been the further on the journey than you. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I love that. I suppose mine is, I like that quote, the only thing constant is change. And if you're sort of stagnant and you think, oh, I want to attain and acquire this skill and then I'll be masterful, it's like, but life's forever changing. So why would you just learn one thing and then think that's the solution? So you just got to be able to adapt constantly to life and the way things it throws at you.
You don't know what you don't know. And this is also another thing to tag onto that. When you start to become aware of all the stuff you've done in your life, the potential is negative, don't start judging yourself because you didn't know what you didn't know. And just because you know stuff now, you can't then look back at your history with the same eyes you've got now, because that's a very bad place to go. I wish I'd done this, or if I'd known that. We didn't. And there's nothing you can do about that. So you've got to let it go. And when you're looking back with those glasses on, take the lessons. So again, look back at some things I've done in my life, again, that quite frankly were disgusting. Again, nothing illegal or immoral, but just not good. It's not good for where I'm at now. I can't change that. What I can do is go back and look and learn from all the lessons that taught me about how I don't want to be and why I ended up doing those behaviours. And then make sure from this moment on, I take responsibility and then crack on. And that's because, again, a lot of times we can learn this stuff, realise that we've messed up in our life, and then beat ourselves up and get into a negative spiral. You can't change it. Go back in your mind and be like, right, what lessons can I learn from this? Take the positive, get rid of the rest, and then move on.
Just on this though, I had a thought anyway, and I kind of was just going, if I didn't go through my self-improvement journey and make the mistakes of thinking I knew it all, would I have got to this state though? So also there's an element of just throw yourself into it, make the mistakes, but just don't be fearful of making those mistakes. Where you're going and thinking you know it all, okay, that might be part of the journey at times. So dive in.
When you mess up, that's when you learn the most.
Yeah, exactly.
When you mess up, that's when you
forward.
learn the most. Exactly, fall forward. If you're never trying, you're never going to fail. Yeah. If you're not failing, you're not trying. So for me, it's just realising you're going to fail, you're going to mess up, that's all part of it. Pain plus reflection equals progress. So absolutely. And again, all the mistakes you made in the past have led you to this moment. So people often say, like, one of the biggest questions that people, when we ask people is like, oh, would you go and change anything in your past? No. Because it happened to where I'm at right now. Like, I wouldn't want to change anything about myself. I know it's happened. Like, do I regret some stuff? Yes, but I wouldn't change it. It just happened. It's led me on this journey. Yeah.
Bro, mate, that's a
Where can
lot.
people find more information about you, Mr. Markham?
The Old Farm Bus is where you'll find the creative hub, and if you want to see my music, it's Rhythmical Mike.
Right, and if you took any value from today's episode, don't forget to like and share with a friend. And until next time, take it easy.